What did you make of it, Mr. Stevenson? Good morning.
Well, I think the Prime Minister finished the conference on a high. We've got to acknowledge it's been a bit of a difficult few days for her, but I think she finished on a high, and most importantly of all, she was setting out a very strong policy agenda, one which I think all Conservative MPs will certainly get behind. And I think it's an extremely important agenda for people such as myself who live in the north of England, where we've obviously been advocating the levelling up agenda for some time. It's a manifesto commitment from 2019, and I feel very confident that she's committed to it.
Did you vote for her?
No, I didn't, but I don't think that's relevant now. What we've got to do is get behind our Prime Minister. We had an election. We've chosen our Prime Minister. She's now leading the party. And I think she's setting out a very clear agenda, one that clearly divides us from opposition parties, because you've got people like the Greens who don't want to see growth in the economy, Liberal Democrats never sure what they're up to, and Labour who are devoid of ideas. We now have a clear agenda. And from a northern perspective, we've long said, what is levelling up about? It's two things. It's about improving people's lives, and it is about closing the gap between those less prosperous areas with the more prosperous areas, and that means growing our economy. So I want to see the policies that will lead to greater growth in the north of England. We can close that gap.
And does that include slashing the 45p rate of tax and also bankers' bonuses caps being removed?
I think at the end of the day, they were a distraction to what we want to actually achieve. And I'm actually very pleased the government's put that to one side. We can then concentrate on the agenda and the policies that will actually deliver the growth in the places I want to see it. So you're cutting national insurance, I think, is a positive, but it's not just about tax cuts. It's also about looking at the amount of regulation that there is, and it's looking at public sector investment in skills, in infrastructure, and attracting the private sector, which ultimately is the goal. Private sector will lead to greater wealth creation. Greater wealth creation leads to better public services, which is something which we all want to see.
OK, so you also think it's a good idea to remove the cap on bankers' bonuses then?
Well, that's a private sector matter. And to be perfectly honest, if we gain more tax from that, we can then use that tax to pay for public services. But what is most important is about growing the economy in different parts of the country. I want to see the economy of the north of England close the gap with the more successful parts. I want to see other parts of the country continue to be successful, but we do need to see the north grow as well.
OK, if it's a private sector matter, why was it brought up in the mini-budget?
Well, I think what's more important is about looking at the policies that we're going to take us forward that will grow the economy in the north of England.
That's not my question, Mr. Stevenson. My question is about bankers' bonuses. You say it's a private sector matter. Quite clearly isn't, because it was the government that put the cap on there. And I'm asking you what impact that has on levelling up and what your constituents think about it.
Well, I think it'll have a limited impact on levelling up, because I think levelling up is about seeing the investment in the north of England and other parts of the country, because we obviously want to see the whole country level up. And I think it's the policies that will drive that are far more important. It's about seeing infrastructure improvements, it's about seeing skills improvement, and it's about seeing private sector being attracted to those areas so that they can grow those local economies, see productivity increases, because it's through productivity increase that you see a society increase its wealth.
So, I'm sorry, just to clarify, are you saying that you don't mind that cap being lifted?
I don't think it will have a great impact on what we are trying to achieve, which is about growing the economy.
Not my question, Mr. Stevenson. Just answer my question, if you would, please. Do you agree with bankers' bonuses cap being lifted or not?
I do not personally have a problem with that.
OK. Do you think that the people that are your constituents that are struggling to make ends meet will feel the same way?
I think the people who I represent want to see the local economy grow. They want to see investment into our area. They want to see their own individual lives improve. And that is what the agenda that the government is pursuing is all about. I want to see the Carlisle economy and indeed the national economy improve. I want to see the standard of living of the people in my area improve. I want to see the opportunities they have improve. And that is about investment. And you are starting to see that in places like Carlisle. We've investment going into our university. We've investment going into our road infrastructure. Those are the things that will improve the productivity of the local economy and therefore improve the lives of the people who live in my constituency.
OK, the good people of Carlisle won't care a jot that bankers can get even bigger bonuses than they did before.
They will have different sort of opinions on that subject, but I think far more importantly, people will be looking to what matters in their own individual lives, their own communities, and ultimately they want to see the whole country succeed. But I want to concentrate on the policies that will lead to an improved economy in Carlisle and in other parts of the country.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking you is, of course, because Carlisle was a red wall seat until 2010, and it's exactly seats like that that will have an opinion on bankers' bonuses and the cap being lifted. And when they get into the polling booth in 2022, December 2022, that could swing it for them. This government looking as though they're looking after the fat cats rather than levelling up in Carlisle.
I disagree with that because I think you're actually seeing direct investment from government into places like Carlisle. I've already highlighted we've got a ring road potential investment, we've got the university expanding in the area, we've seen job creation in the area, and I think what will matter to the people of Carlisle at the next election is, has Carlisle improved, has their own individual lives improved, and has the opportunities for their own children and families improved? Because that's a critical thing. I want to see everybody improve their lives, have greater opportunity, better jobs, higher wages, greater productivity in the economy, and also an environment where they live and their communities are prosperous. That is the policy of the present government. Pursuing a growth agenda, I think, is the right approach.
They'll also, I'm guessing, be thinking about whether they can keep a roof over their heads, or even if they can, because mortgages have gone up so high, keep the heating on because of increases in inflation, the cost of living, and indeed mortgage rates, because this government was in danger of crashing the economy.
I don't think anybody disagrees that there's going to be a difficult few months. I'm quite optimistic about things. I think inflation will drop substantially next year. Interest rates are rising, not unique to the United Kingdom. Interest rates are rising right across Europe and other parts of the world. I think they will ultimately stabilise. Hopefully, as the economy recovers next year and you see inflation drop, that interest rates will start to drop. And you've also got to remember the government has stepped in to support families and businesses up and down the country with the energy support that they are giving, which is very, very substantial. What I'd like to see, obviously, is energy prices generally drop, inflation drop, and the economy start to grow strongly. And I think we will see that next year.
Yeah, we all want that to happen. How high do you think inflation is going to go before that?
I'm not somebody who can predict these things, but
you just did predict that it was going to go down.
I did, yes, but not a specific figure. What I did say, I think it will go down next year, and I think that will improve people's prospects.
OK, it's good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.